What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. Wow, Birdie didn't want to stay in for the recording.
Don't
video
follow her
listeners,
example, everyone.
Wow,
Don't
she
look.
just pieced out as soon as we started recording. But what's up? I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
How are you this fine Sunday morning recording?
yeah,
we used to
we-
do this a lot.
we
and then
haven't done this in a
stopped.
while.
And this is like just a throwback recording session on a Sunday morning. But yeah, it's nice though.
It's good to get myself out of the house on a Sunday morning because otherwise I won't.
Well, Sundays are perfect for just laying around and
Perfect
not
for
doing much. and
loafing
everything.
around. I was playing some Brothership right before
Oh,
this.
nice. Very
Beat a little
fun,
side
very fun.
quest, and just because I'm intentionally not doing the thing that the game wants me to, as
Who
one
needs
does.
a main story? Who
No,
needs it?
nobody
no
needs
one
that.
needs it at all. But today, we are here to talk about the main stories of the year, which is all the games we played. It is going to be our 2024 video games in review, our personal gaming years, where we'll talk about
old
our
recap.
our games of the year, games of the year. Who knows? You'll have to see our favorite ones of the year, and just other things about the past year that we just felt necessary to talk about. So it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. So stick around for that. But before we do that, though, we are going to talk about, because the Game Awards did just happen, we have to give our thoughts and stuff on some of the reveals, also some of the winners and all that. So stick around for that. But if all that sounds good, great, and wonderful, and you're like, where can I hear all this good gaming goodness? Well, you can do that on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Spotify, Amazon Music Now. We're actually there. I got us
Oh
added
my
onto
God.
Amazon Music Now.
Whoa.
iHeartRadio, lots of different places like that. You can listen to us across the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. You can also find us on social media at Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. We also have a Discord server that you can join and have great conversation with us when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help make the show bigger and better, you can head over to patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast, just like Allison H, Fuchsia, Ark, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, James K, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S have done. They have gone over to patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast, whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show, and in return, we'll give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general weekly release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. And if you are at the $5 tier, you actually get early access also to our subsidiary show, Team Chit Chat, where we talk about things not related to video games and stuff like that. So it's a lot of great fun. But if you can't do that, no big deal at all. We totally understand. And there are a lot of great ways you can help support the show for free, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews wherever you're listening to or watching the show, and of course, hitting that big old subscribe or follow button. So all of that helps get the good word of Team Chat Podcast out there to the masses. And for that, we are eternally grateful to each and every single one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike. Heart
Oh, Jesus, I wasn't ready.
emojis.
Dang.
If you had been paying attention,
Closing out the
that
year
would have
with a-
been the strongest introduction of the entire year.
Damn. I really fucked it up right at the end. Oops.
Oh, no. But
Whoopsies.
no. There have been a lot of great stuff going on in games this year. And actually, talking about following, liking, and all that stuff, in the interim, because I know we had a couple of weeks off of doing episodes since your fantastic review on Super Mario Brothership.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And in that time, because we did our community Mario Kart stream, something crazy happened in the Team Chat universe. You know about this.
Oh, your thing that went viral?
Yeah.
Your TikTok that went mega viral?
It did. I did because I just finished up playing Bloodborne, on stream, and was streaming that. And I had a moment where I ran into a room full of spiders. And if you've listened to the show for any
Jared
amount of
doesn't
time,
like
you know I
spiders.
hate spiders. They're fucking terrible, and I hate them with my every fiber of my being. Well, I put a little video together on TikTok, and it went crazy.
How much does it have now?
Last time I looked, it was in the
Silence TikTok.
Silence TikTok. Let's see, where are we currently sitting? Because I posted it it's been a couple weeks up at this point, but I think I posted it within a little bit before Thanksgiving, I want to say. 488,000.
Oh my God, Jarrett, you're so famous.
43.8 thousand likes.
Wow.
It's going nuts.
Bro.
It's going nuts.
You got to play Bloodborne
So,
again
I
and
do
just
now,
make a
right?
bunch
I
more.
just have to do that. Fortunately, though, I do have every session recorded.
Yes.
So I am going to start the slow process of going through and doing clips from that, but also going to do clips from Bramble, our Until Dawn stuff.
Oh, that's a good
so,
idea.
to get a lot of good, and then also just episode clips. So
Yeah.
you're going to start seeing more of that stuff rolling out on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, and YouTube Shorts. They're also going up there too.
But most importantly,
if you want to go
TikTok.
follow us on TikTok, if it doesn't get banned in a month, we'll be fine. And
Yeah.
we can keep growing it.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see what happens. Who knows?
Oh boy.
But before we get into the main topic of the day, where we recap our 2024 in gaming, let's do a quick recap of the Game Awards.
Absolutely.
2024.
Yeah. We're not going to go through every category because frankly let's be honest, Jared and I didn't play the vast majority of
Like
games
every
that
single
were
game
on
that
the
was
list.
game of the year, I didn't get a chance to
we
play
didn't
this
play
year.
those.
I didn't play them. And not even for like lack of not wanting to
Yeah.
play. I don't think they would have been in my radar really at all anyway.
I think the only two in like the big contenders
Yeah.
for the year that I would have played if I had, I guess, had the time and or the money.
Right.
Astrobot
Same.
is very high on my list. I absolutely want to play Astrobot sooner
Mm-hmm.
rather than later. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Rebirth really didn't get the play this year because it's just a long
Yeah.
game, and I just really didn't feel like I had the mental bandwidth to like commit that much time to it, which is bullshit because I accidentally poured hundreds of hours into Valorant.
It happens
So,
though. You
yeah,
play
it just happens.
your heart plays what your heart wants to play.
Yeah, and Rebirth just wasn't on that list yet.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back and play it. So let's go through the categories that Jared and I personally were more invested in than the others. Like we're not going to do content creator of the
we're
year
not-
because
we're not-
we don't fucking know any of the people on that
I've
list.
seen like a couple of the guys' clips, Queso who won, and that's it. And I didn't even know he was that big time, that
Yeah.
he was getting Game Awards level of
I
attention. So
I felt like such a boomer. I saw all the names and I was like, I don't know a single person on that list.
it started happening in our music award shows where I'm like, who are these youngins singing these days? And now it's
young
creeped
people.
into my gaming.
Who's this Charlie XQC?
All right, here we go. So
boy.
Game of the Year, the winner was Astrobot in a list of nominees including Metaphor ReFantazio, Black Myth Wukong, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, and Balatro.
And I mean, of the ones that were Game of the Year nominees, a lot of these made it into other categories as well.
Right.
So you're going to see a little bit of a trend here. But overall, I feel like it wasn't a sweep year. Like
Everything
it wasn't,
did seem rather
there was a lot
equally
of,
dispersed.
There was a lot of little sprinklings here and there, even a couple of games that weren't like big nominees, won
Yeah.
a couple of the smaller categories. So let's get into the other ones.
Let's see. So, but you talking about like other ones that you wouldn't play on this
Yeah.
list. Like I think the only ones now, because like I've beaten Bloodborne, the only ones on here, Astrobot, yes, of course, that looks great and fantastic. I would give Black Myth and Elden Ring, Shadow
Yeah.
of the Erdtree a run now, but like
Jared,
at the
for the-
time, I didn't.
For the shorts alone, you gotta play Elden
Right?
Ring. Just to you don't even have to like it.
I have sealed my streaming career. It's
really
only
have.
it's only Soulsborne games at this
Yeah,
point.
and also, I mean, even though it didn't win Game of the Year, I felt like it had a really good chance of it. Balatro.
Yes.
So for those of you that aren't familiar, Balatro is an indie, air quotes, poker game,
Mm-hmm.
but it was literally made, it's one of those one guy games. A
Yeah.
single dude, local thunk? Who's the-
Local Thunk. Yep.
Oh wow, I got it right. Yeah, so Local Thunk, just one dude made that game, and I mean, just to see that kind of game development get onto
Oh,
Game
yeah.
of the Year, I think is a really nice sign.
Yeah, it really took the gaming world by
Yeah.
storm. But not my devices.
Not our storm.
Not our
I
devices.
would still give it a try though, because
Oh,
I
same.
like card games.
yeah.
I feel like I should maybe give that one a try sometime.
And it's like a good mix too of the dungeon crawler, or not the dungeon crawler, but like a roguelite and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because you do the different runs and all that different jazz. Action game did go to Black Myth Wukong
Thank
alongside.
God, because it beat out Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Although I would have loved to have seen Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 take the win
So
too,
really-
or Helldivers.
Yeah,
honestly,
I mean, honestly, the only game on this list that I wouldn't have wanted to win was Call of Duty. All the
Yeah.
other four, Stellar Blade got a nomination there, Helldivers 2, so there were a lot of other good games in that category.
narrative. See what you were saying about the diversity of the wins. Metaphor Fantasio.
You say it different every time.
I do.
I go with the Italian pronunciation. I go
Rifantasio.
Rifantatio. Yeah, you really got to do the hand sign.
So that one took the win for narrative up against Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, which, you know what, I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
But what do I know? I didn't even play the game. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Silent Hill 2.
I felt like Silent Hill 2 and Senua's Saga both stood a really good chance of winning that one.
Art direction goes again to Metaphor.
We love to see it, but personally, I wanted Neva to win because Neva was also nominated
Yeah,
for this
Nomada
one.
Studio does incredible
They
artwork for
do
their games.
beautiful stuff. So I'm glad, Metaphor is still a good win. Astrobot was also nominated for this category, but I wanted it to be Neva.
Yeah. Then we got independent game, Balatro, which I think is the perfect choice.
A good choice. Another category that was stacked because Balatro got
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of traction, but so did Animal Well.
Mm-hmm.
Animal Well got a lot of great reception. People love that game. Actually, I do really want to go back and play Animal Well. I
Yeah.
feel like I'll probably love it if I play it. And then, of course, Neva was also nominated in this category,
And-
along with Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
I was about to say, like, I feel like the only people I've heard talk about that are you and your brother. But like,
tells you the sample size of the games.
but I still didn't know that. Like, oh, is that going to be fine? Is that like, is it good or not?
Oh,
But,
Jared, you would hate that game.
I've
Never play
assumed. I will
Lorelei.
not-
You would
I will
have
not be
such a
playing
bad time.
One of our favorite categories. Thank you. Word left me. Score and soundtrack. Winner is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I'm very happy about that, mostly because of my doomed hope that maybe this means we'll get another Final Fantasy VII Rebirth DLC pack for Final Barline. It's not.
oh, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but
That
I'm
would
like,
be cool.
but maybe.
That would be cool. And it was up against Metaphor, Astrobot, Stellar Blade, and Silent Hill 2.
Snooty Boots, one of our longtime friends and community members, says that the Stellar Blade soundtrack is phenomenal. So if
Nice.
you need some background music later this week, maybe put on the Stellar Blade OST.
It wasn't nominated, and I was very upset about this because it is my personal favorite soundtrack of the year, and I really hoped it was going to get it. But it was like a late addition into my library. But the Star Wars Outlaws soundtrack is so good. I've listened to it more.
Yeah.
I know I talked about it in my review of the game and everything, but the game soundtrack itself by Will Roger II.
What a name.
Wilbert
God.
Roger II. I know. Fantastic music and a bomb-ass name to go with.
Just a dope name.
He did the score for the game itself, but then there's also like a compendium album of just like the city life scapes or like the jukebox tunes you can play in the cantina and stuff like that.
Fun.
And it's just a ton of awesome like synth like vaporwave beats and stuff like that, all like in a very like still maintaining a Star Wars almost lo-fi feel to some of them and everything. It was just a fantastic gathering of music, but with the score of the game and then these like ambient noises and songs and stuff like that. It was a really great time. So I had hoped it was going to get nominated, so I was bummed when it didn't. But it was my personal pick.
Another
for
one that
favorite soundtrack.
I
of the
was a
year.
little sad to see didn't get a nom is Neva again, just because Berlinist came back for the
Oh,
soundtrack.
they did?
Yes.
Oh,
So
man.
Neva also has a Berlinist OST.
And
so
Greece is a fantastic
Greece had a
soundtrack.
fantastic. Neva's is really good too. So again, if you want something a little bit less synthwave and a little bit more emotionally charged,
Yep.
go check out the Neva soundtrack.
Debut indie game goes to Balatro, which is great to see as well.
But the Plucky Squire got a nom on
Yeah,
there.
that would have been cool too, since you actually played
I
that
actually
one.
played one of those games.
And then multiplayer game, which this one I was excited to see the win
Yeah.
go here. Helldivers 2 takes it above Black Ops 6, Warhammer, Space Marine 2, Tekken 8. Honestly, kind of surprised it went above Tekken 8.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just because of our like bubble of a
we're,
gaming community.
so in Tekken 8.
And then Super Mario Party Jamboree, which like
I couldn't believe Jamboree even
how
got a nom.
that just got there because its name is Mario.
Yeah, it really
Like,
did.
That game came and went. Nobody even
I mean,
noticed.
that game came out like 2 weeks ago, I
Yeah.
feel like. So I was a little surprised it was even on here at all.
Family game's always a good one too. Astrobot wins for that one up against Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, Plucky Squire, Princess Peach Showtime, and Super Mario Party Jamboree. All right, were there anything else? Oh, this is the one that I was excited to see. Audio design. That Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 did take the win for audio design.
The best performance also went to
Also-
Senua's Saga.
Nice for Melina Journeys.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Fighting game, the one we are very invested in this year.
8!
Tekken 8 at least did
Thank
win that.
God, it would have been rigged if Tekken 8 hadn't gotten it.
Up against Multiverses, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising.
What a name.
What a name. But yeah, I think,
All of these other ones we frankly don't super care about.
or we already talked about the winners, like
Yeah.
Astrobot Taking Action Adventure
Yes.
and stuff like that. But makes sense all the way around the board. Like Astrobot, I will feel like was a shock that it did take Game of the Year, because I really did think, especially since they put it up for the category for the Game of the Year category with the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. We talked about it where I was like, that just feels like that's what's going to win.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see Astrobot take the win.
So I feel like I think the Game Awards did get a fair amount of backlash for putting a DLC up for Game of the Year. I feel like next year they probably are going to break out a DLC dedicated
I think you have
category,
to.
and I feel like they should. I mean, DLC is so common now. Most big games have at least one DLC launch, per year if they're ongoing.
Right.
So I feel like that would just make sense.
Because I don't remember who won, but I can't remember if Ghost of Tsushima won Game of the Year or not when it came out. But it had the big Iki Island expansion.
Yeah,
that would have been
did.
awesome. It could have potentially seen the same treatment, but now it could be its own and hold its own, in its own category and stuff like that. So that would be cool to see. But of course, there are also a bunch of announcements and stuff at the Game Awards. Let's be honest, that is what the Game Awards are, is just the announcements with a little sideshow of awards. So we were going to throw around some of our favorite ones that we are looking forward to from the announcements and reveals, because there were always a bunch.
And a few that we know other people in our Discord and our community were really excited about, like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden's back, everybody, and it looks really good. I actually at first thought it was a sequel to The Messenger, because it looked a lot like that game, but no, it is Ninja Gaiden. It's back. A big one in the world of Bro Mogan specifically. Slay the Spire 2. Slay the Spire is actually getting a formal sequel, and that game already made a bazillion dollars on the first
Why not
game.
make a few more?
This is another one of those games that has a tiny dev studio. I think it might be 2 to 3 people max.
Oh, nice.
So I'm amazed that they made a second game. They're going to make $50 billion off of the second one, so good for them. I'm skipping over everything that I felt like we frankly don't care about.
I have a list of the ones that I specifically like
you go
too.
for it.
We'll start with the first one that actually I know both of us were probably pretty excited about, Splitgate 2.
Spiltgut 2!
The first game was great. We all had a great time jumping into that game.
The first game got out of beta and immediately got canceled.
Yeah, and then they were just like, we want to rework this and make it better. We're going to completely take this game offline, and here we go. So it's exciting to see it actually making a return, and it's not just dead. I also thought Project Sentry looked pretty interesting.
Project Sentry looked really interesting. It takes place in early 1900s Japan, turn of the century Japan, which is such a refreshing setting.
Right.
For the Japan-based games. It's not medieval. It's not samurai times.
Yeah.
They just barely managed to get out of
It's not modern day
that.
Yakuza, although I think it's by the same studio who does do the Like a Dragon and stuff like that.
It looked like a very, almost kind of like Sifu and very hand-to-hand combat based, but we'll see how that game actually turns out. It looked good. I don't know what this game is personally, but Kirok seemed excited about it. Solasta 2.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I have
it
no
looks
fucking idea.
Diablo-esque, but I don't really know what it's about.
It says it's
much.
a turn-based tactical RPG. Sure.
Oh, okay.
That sounds fine.
Very cool. Another one for me that I think we're both, and we should probably plan on doing.
Split
Fiction.
Yeah.
We should stream that one for sure. It looks very fun.
It looks very fun. So this is from the people that made It Takes Two, which we have heard from right, left, and center is also a really good game, and we just never got around to streaming it.
It was released for December on PS Plus.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to jump on that.
But here's the thing. Split Fiction is one of the only games announced that is coming out really soon.
Oh.
It's coming out in March.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we should
just plan on doing this.
wait for Split
Wait for Split Fiction.
So Split Fiction is another one of those co-op games, but it doesn't look at all like It Takes Two. It Takes Two looked kind of like claymation, stop motion sort of style. Split Fiction is not like that at all. It's a little bit more air quotes realistic, but it's about two strangers that get pulled into a virtual reality simulator together to make their dreams come to life. But there's secret bad stuff hidden in the ulterior motives. But one of them is really into fantasy, and the other person is really into sci-fi. So it's about their warring ideals about what their fantastical world will look like.
Yeah.
And it looks really interesting. It looks like they've mixed a lot of different gameplay ideas into there. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
And I guess old Joseph Fares, for his well-known "fuck the Oscars" speech moment, I guess he can actually make great games.
It was so funny. He landed a bunch of F-bombs, and then at the very end he was like, "And shout out to my beautiful daughters," and it cuts to the audience, and it's his two 3-year-olds in the audience,
and they're going, "Fuck yeah, Dad!"
Yeah, it's so funny.
Let's see. Witcher 4. We finally got the announcement cinematic trailer for that.
Ciri!
Ciri being the main protagonist.
Yes.
That's pretty exciting.
I've never really been interested in The Witcher as games, again, just because they're too long.
They're huge, yeah.
But this time, maybe, because I love Ciri.
Well, and CD Projekt Red always does a great job too with their cinematics. Like
Yeah.
all the ones for the Witcher games are fantastic. This
Yeah,
one
yeah.
was no different. Really gets you hyped up and ready to go.
Speaking of older games coming back to life, for those of you that are still into Borderlands,
Oh yeah, Borderlands
4 is coming around.
4. And then let's see. The only other two that there's one. The very last game is the one I was also like very hyped for, but also because now I'm into the Soulsborne games, Elden Ring Night Rain. I'm not going to let
Yes.
that go by in a day one buy and miss me. You know what I'm saying?
For those of you that were maybe confused about the announcement, Elden Ring Night Rain is a standalone
Yeah.
multiplayer, like sort of spin-off of Elden Ring. It is still Elden Ring, but it is going to be either single player or parties of 3. There is no in between. You're either playing it alone or you're playing it with a party of
Hell
3.
yeah.
So it kind of we were all joking about how it looks like Elden Ring Monster Hunter. So that's the vibe, is that and if you've got a party of 3 or you're just really into Elden Ring, I mean, I feel like it's going to be a good investment for you. You don't have to have Elden Ring already to be able to play Night Rain.
Hell yeah.
In other news, they did finally announce the sort of guest character for Tekken 8, and unfortunately, it's not Tifa. Everybody, it's Clive.
Just Clive. Good old
It's
Clive.
fucking Clive from Final Fantasy 16. He's
Renowned
coming
British
around.
actor Clive Owen.
Yeah.
Oh wait, from Final Fantasy. Okay.
And then in other news, Virtua Fighter is coming back. So for everybody that's into like old school fighting games, Virtua Fighter, we have no idea when, but Virtua Fighter is getting a new installment eventually.
Very cool. And then the very last game announced is my final one. That's like the big pick. So I'll let you go ahead and do this one that I know is your big pick.
I was about to cry on the couch. They brought the big symphony orchestra out
was a very
to
cool
announce
reveal.
that Okami is coming back.
yeah.
It is an untitled sequel. It's just a labeled Okami sequel right now, but I could not believe mine eyes when this happened. And when the music swelled, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. So Okami did technically have a formal sequel in the form of Okami Den way back on the DS. We did a review of that game 1,000 years ago
yeah.
because I was basically like, I hate that game.
I think that's what we talked
I
about. It was
played
like
it and I
one that like
didn't like it.
sequels didn't live up to the hype or something like
Yes,
that.
it was like disappointing sequels. So I'm really glad that they're finally making what I would consider to be a proper Okami sequel. There was a little bit of confusion about this. I've said in the Discord that Studio Clover was coming back. That is not true.
Oh, okay.
Clovers with an S on the end is a newly formed studio.
Subsidiary studio
But
of
it
Clover.
is, I've heard around town that people that worked on the original Okami game from Clover Studio are coming back for this.
Very cool.
So
Very
it's
cool.
not going to be entirely the original team, but people that worked on the first game are coming back around for this one. So fingers crossed that it's going to live up to my personal expectations.
Very cool. And then the one game that really kind of capped it off, it was the final announcement of the night. Naughty Dog's new game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which just gave basically a cinematic trailer. They say it's rendered in-game engine, so hopefully the final game kind of looks similarly. 'cause if
Sponsored
it
by
does-
Porsche.
It's sponsored by Porsche. I thought it was going to be a racing game at first, and I was like, the Mad Lad did it. He ended this game with Forza Horizon 5. Or 6, whichever the new one is. I was like, oh my God,
Oh, boy.
this is his big announcement. But still, it's going to be the new Naughty Dog game, completely new IP. That's always exciting when you hear such a storied dev like Naughty Dog is going to come out with their next entry and new franchise and everything like that. So waiting that with bated breath. It's going to be some kind of like futuristic space adventure. You look like you fight some crazy robot beings and stuff like that. It's going to be cool. It looks cool. I hope it's going to be cool. All we have to do, and apparently a pretty stacked cast too. Like Kumail Nanjiani is going to be in it. You can see from the trailer, and a few other people that now I've forgotten who they are.
Much like with movies, my opinion on any time I see an air quotes stacked cast is it will not be good.
More stacked cast and like
That's a personal opinion.
it's
but
it's more people who are like. Now I wish I could actually remember their names and like find them quickly, but I saw like a breakdown of people going through it. But it was like other like good video game voice actors and like it's that term of stacked. It's not like Chris Pratt's in it.
You thank God.
I know I said I know I said Kumail, but like I love Kumail.
Jared, what if he is though?
What if he is?
What if they just didn't announce him and he's totally in it?
They show the final box art and he's just there in the corner. And you're just like, God damn it!
It would suck so much.
Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet is Chris Pratt.
That would be so funny.
that would be unfortunate.
God, I hope he is now. Okay.
So
Anyways,
anyway,
those were the big
lots
announcements.
of great stuff,
There
lots
was
of
more
things.
than that. Those were just
Yeah.
the ones that we cared
The
about.
ones that we really kicked around or thought were looking cool.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm taking out of that from Night Rain and then Split Fiction, I kind of feel like this year, and then Monster Hunter Wilds
Yes,
also.
Wilds.
2025, I feel like 2024, excuse me, for us and in the Team Chat community was kind of like the fighting game year. I think next year is going to be the co-op year.
I think next year is going to be the Monster Hunting co-op
Yeah,
year. Yeah, for
because
sure.
we're gonna be playing that. Split Fiction. We're already talking about playing it when it comes out, and then you got the Elden Ring also going to allow us for some
Yeah.
co-op fun. So it's going to be a good time all around.
The one thing I wasn't clear on with Split Fiction, and I'm also actually not clear about this on It Takes Two now that
Mm-hmm.
I think about it, is whether or not those are online co-op. Like, can you play it over a distance?
I don't know about that. I know Split Fiction you can do is couch, like it's supposed to be couch co-op.
Yeah, I know.
and so
I
is
know
It
they're
Takes Two.
supposed to be
I
that
don't
way,
know
but
though if they actually allow for online.
okay, we should
We'll
look
have to
into
see.
that because I feel like sometimes the person that you want to play the game with isn't in the room with you. So
Yeah, that's true.
that would be a nice touch.
You do live somewhere else in the city.
I live somewhere else. I live down the road.
Alrighty. Well, so yes, a lot of great things to talk about like that are coming out in the next year. But now we want to switch gears and talk about what we enjoyed from the last year
Our
of
year
gaming.
in
Our year in games 2024 in review.
Can I start us off?
Go ahead, start
Because
us off.
I actually almost forgot that it happened this year because my perception of time is just super fucked still.
Still, same. Right there with you.
I almost forgot that it was in January/February of this year that I both mostly started and also finished and platinumed my first ever
Oh,
game.
that's right.
Dredge.
I completely forgot about that.
Completely forgot that was this year because
Your
it feels
first
like it was
platinum.
10 years
Wow.
ago. Yeah, I got my first platinum trophy in the form of Dredge. So for anybody, and actually I mentioned at the time when I did my Dredge review, an episode that got no love, by the way. That one did
was a
not.
great review.
It was a great review. Got
Everyone should go
no
listen to
love.
it, God
yeah,
damn
you
it.
should go listen to it. But anyways, Dredge is a fantastic game. It came out in 2023, and it made waves because it's a fishing game. Get it? It takes place on the water. Anyways, Dredge made waves in the indie space for being a really, really good indie game, and that was true. And I waited too long to play it because I feel like if I had played it in 2023, it may have been my game of the year. Like, that's how much I enjoyed Dredge.
Yeah.
It was the perfect size. It didn't go too long. It also wasn't too short. And all of its achievements in the form of the platinum were very attainable.
Yeah.
Like, some of them did require quite a bit of time investment. Like, one of them is to fill out your entire compendium of all of the possible fish. But like, that just makes you want to fish all of the spots and want to do all of the different environments and all the different times of day to like make sure that you get all the fish.
Yeah.
The fishing itself is really fun. The game is fantastic. It's creepy. It's a horror fishing game, people. It's like eldritch horror too, so it's really fun.
Right up your alley.
Right up my alley. A little bit of mystery in the side, in the margins for you to enjoy. It's just a really good game, and I believe Super Saiyan Ace played it, and he loved it too. So go play Dredge if you want a really awesome fishing game. And I feel like fishing game doesn't even really properly describe what it is. You get to deck out your little boat. You get
Hell
to
yeah.
put little pennants on it, like painted and stuff. Yeah,
that's fun.
There's
We love a
treasure. You
customizable
get to
boat.
unearth treasure. There's like scary monsters of the deep that will eat you if you try to go outside the bounds of the map, which my friend and I did, and it was very startling.
Oh, no.
So anyways, Dredge rules, and I wanted to give a shout out to that game because I feel like it came at exactly the wrong time because it's not really in my game of the year running this year, but God, it would have been for 2023. So poor Dredge.
Sorry, just a second.
Jarrett is answering a text. He's
From my
texting
beloved.
and podcasting.
She's out. I
Dangerous.
can multitask. I can do it. Just entertain the people.
But that was my opportunity to take a sip of liqueur. So we have dead air, Jarrett. Dead air.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, Dredge was really fun, and I did love getting to hear your review of it because I don't necessarily know if it's one that would fit my cup of tea necessarily. But
I don't know. I feel like
You feel like I could
feel
like
like
it?
anyone could enjoy Dredge.
Okay. Let's see. What do I want to jump in talking about first? Because, I know we want to talk about our game of the year, but we can't just drop that first.
No,
we
we
can't just
can't.
talk about that first. So why don't, before we actually jump into a lot of things, we talk about, this also came up at the Game Awards. And just one of the things, before we talk about how much fun and everything we had with games this year, maybe we should take a minute to talk about how quit laying everybody off, fuckers.
Yeah, 2024 was a nasty year for layoffs. I mean, in general, a lot of different industries got hit by a lot of layoffs, but the gaming industry in particular, especially in the first half of the year,
it was like every week.
It was like
multiple hundreds,
multiple layoffs, thousands of layoffs, and in a lot of cases, studios closing.
Yeah.
So a lot of studios got shut down this year.
Well, like the 3-4 big ones in Microsoft that got shut down?
Like right after being acquired by Microsoft. So it's like, man, these acquisitions, the monopolization of the video gaming space is bad for gamers. And we just need to remember that. We need to acknowledge that layoffs in the industry are pretty much always a bad thing. Some people would argue that it's just a case of correcting from overhiring, and maybe that is true. Maybe studios overhired during the pandemic, but also like, damn, with fewer people working on games means more crunch, and it means ultimately worse products.
Yeah.
So that's something we don't want to see more of.
No, but we just wanted to take the moment to like acknowledge that, like, yes, a lot of bad shit happened in the industry as well, as along with all this good. And honestly, if you want to go hear great words on it, go watch the end of the Game Awards when the CEO of Larian Studios, Sven Wiki, got up and talked about this and was just like, make games that people actually want to play and the money will follow, basically. And it's true. Like, so many games that we see these days are just beset with the things to make money that do nothing for the game themselves, and all they do
They're
is
live
just
services for no other reason than because the publisher wants to make money.
Yeah, is to make money. And so it's just the kind of thing of just like, follow the game, follow the heart of your creation.
Yeah, follow your heart, everybody.
It's in here.
Yeah, heart of
It's
the
in
cards.
here.
So, can I give a few like vague thoughts?
Sure, go
Because
for it.
I feel like I have a lot of vague thoughts about my year in gaming. When I actually looked at my PlayStation recap, and I will say that for me, this was a year of PlayStation. Like, I go back and forth. Sometimes
Same.
Nintendo has really good years. Sometimes PlayStation has really good years. We all know that I'm not really a PC gamer, so that never really affects me.
Just for
this
Nancy
year
Drew.
was definitely just for Nancy Drew. This year was definitely a Sony year for me. And of the games that I looked at in terms of hours that were on my like Sony end of year recap, I was like, because the top 2 and actually 3 of the games in my top 5, I felt like were games that like I put so many hours into them, and yet in one ear out the other.
Really?
Like, as soon as I had hit the limit of like, okay, I am done with this game, I just like the demon left my body.
You're like, no more.
That's really
no
how I
more.
feel about it, because it's definitely not going to be considered my game of the year by any stretch, but I put hundreds, well, not hundreds, like 150-ish hours into Valorant,
Which
of all things.
blew me away when I saw that on your wrap. I knew you got really sucked into it, and
I
I
was
knew
really
it,
into
like,
Valorant.
you became a Valorant player,
And
hardcore,
alone.
professional.
It was just me. Like, every now and then Jarrett would join me.
Yeah.
Snooty Boots joined me quite a bit for some of those Valorant sessions, but the vast majority of those 150 odd hours were just me out there solo queuing alone, and just like really, really deeply invested in the game in a way that, like, I would be thinking about it pretty much all day, and I'd be like, man, okay, it's lunchtime, even though it's a
gotta
work
fit a
day.
few in.
I can just fit a few in.
It's
maybe
your
one
lunch
or
break.
two.
You can do what you want.
I can do what I want. I'm just gonna play a little bit of Valorant. So I actually played a ton of Valorant, but like, as soon as I got to the point of feeling like I was done with the game, all of that drive to go back and play has like completely exited my body.
Oh, wow. See, it's just starting for me, and I was hoping you were going to be there.
So Overwatch Classic actually sort of like shocked me out of my vibe, because Overwatch Classic came back around for that limited time event. And like, I'm also not back into Overwatch now, but playing Overwatch Classic like made me realize, not even made me realize, just that like break in the flow broke my attachment to Valorant very quickly.
Wow.
So
and
it's like,
it's just completely dead to you at this point.
It's not necessarily dead to me. Maybe I'll go back and play a little bit, but like, I bought the battle pass for
shit.
Valorant.
Damn.
That's how much I liked it.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the season after that because nothing in it was actually very attractive to me, but like, that's how much I enjoyed Valorant, is that I was actually willing to participate in a battle pass.
Yeah.
And then that did not happen for Overwatch Classic, and it's never going to happen for Overwatch 2, frankly. It's probably never going to happen for Marvel Rivals for me, which is the game we're playing now.
Yep.
But like, all this to say, I just felt like, for whatever reason, Valorant like came like a hurricane and left just as quickly. Like it just dissipated. I don't know why that is. It was just there and gone.
Yeah.
Another game that was there and gone for me, which we can probably both talk about at least a little bit, is my second most played game
I was shocked by seeing that up there too.
by a margin of 1 hour, which I was pissed about because my number 3 most played game was actually we'll talk about it later. It's basically my game of the year, sort of, not
Yeah.
really. But Dragon Age Inquisition managed to make it into my second.
A great game.
No!
I know.
like we talked about this during our full review of Dragon Age Inquisition, but I have very mixed feelings about it. I both enjoyed and hated it.
Yeah.
It's like such a polarizing game, even for the people that play it and like it. So I was just honestly a little bit furious that I put that much time into that game when I actually barely even liked it, even though I loved it. It's so hard to describe.
Like, I was shocked seeing it there because I thought that it was going to be in my top 5, and it wasn't. Because I know I'd played a lot of it before on PS4, like when I first started my playthroughs, but like I still put a lot of time into it. And I think we probably cumulatively have about the same amount of play hours in it.
Yeah.
But I was just shocked that mine didn't even make the list at all for me.
I think
because
you may have just played more games than me.
I did. I was kind of surprised by that too. On my Wrapped, it did say I played 29 games on PlayStation this year.
Oh my god, that's so many games.
I don't think I
Jared.
didn't beat 29 games on PlayStation. I think I just downloaded them to try to play or play the first hour or something. But kind of to that, how you had a lot of games that went in one ear and out the other. For me this year, it was a lot of really new stuff, and I think that's maybe why I really got tried out a lot of, had longer hours and different things like that, or games played in mine. Because this year I really tried out, and I've talked about this before, fighting games and then the Soulsborns. That was kind of my year in review in a nutshell. And I had really never tackled any of those games before. We've talked about the first Souls game I did try to play was Dark Souls, and I played it around the time we started Team Chat. So it's been about 10-ish years, and I put in 5-6 hours, probably more, honestly. I'm probably misremembering it, and just couldn't get into it. I think at that point I was too into the just button mash mindset. I'm still very into the button mash mindset. Let's not kid ourselves or myself about that in any way. But it still just didn't click for me. And so I kind of thought those games aren't going to be my thing. Fighting games, same thing. Button mashed whenever I had the chance to play them before, like the random arcade, different stuff like that, but never really had that big of an exposure. And just getting to dive into both of those genres this year through playing Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, and then Bloodborne, just really, it opened my eyes to new genres and then therefore new games that I probably would have written off pretty easily before.
And that category O games is the Borns of the world. It's stacked. You'll never run out because as soon as you finish one, 3 more will be out.
Exactly. Because on that spider video from Bloodborne, everybody in the comments are being like, play Wukong, see what chapter 4 is about with spiders. I'm like, oh shit, okay. So there's something scary that people want me to see.
And then you can stitch them and do a part 2.
Exactly.
Jerry, you gotta play Wukong.
Apparently I just spider content now is what I gotta make. I've damned myself to this hell. But it just was really fun taking myself out of the comfort zone, because it was, even though it was a year of admittedly light on the Star Wars releases, which are what usually get my attention, although we did get Star Wars Hunters and Star Wars Outlaws, not saying they're bad, and I still replayed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order this year to get that platinum.
Oh yeah.
And so, I still got my good content in, but it just, in that regards, but in terms of the normal stuff that I gravitate towards, it was a little bit of a lighter year, and getting to focus on these other genres and really get to explore them, and now have a very real love for them all. Tekken makes me so mad. It makes me furious. But I keep coming back, and I've just crossed 100 hours into it, and I put in
God, I gotta catch
80 or something in 85 into Mortal Kombat 1 this year.
Oh my God,
so
I am so
it's
behind.
Been so fun, because just that drive of slowly seeing yourself getting better, and then beating this one milestone, and it just making it feel oh, I'm powerful. And then you keep going until you hit that next roadblock, work through it. It's that reward, that risk reward, or the that feeling of dopamine, whatever it is, when you beat the big boss. It unlocks something new in myself this year, and that was really fun to get to explore.
I just remember watching. I didn't manage to catch all of your Bloodborne streams, but every time I would see you fighting a boss, and Bro Mogan or anybody else that plays the Bloodborns of the world would be in the chat. They'd be like, he just keeps getting away with it, because Jared, his style of Bloodborne gameplay is hysterical.
It's learning still, and I still have the button masher.
I would say that you don't need to learn because you got it. You got a system that works
That's
for
true.
you.
That's
it's
true.
just that Jared's stamina bar is always like
I'm living
at
on the edge.
zero. He's
Living in that danger
on the
zone.
edge because like he'll dodge in, be at zero, keep attacking, and then he just somehow manages to like max out with no stamina.
But
it's
it made
incredible.
no sense because I would one shot some of the hardest bosses in the game.
He
Literally run into them and one shot them. The final boss of the game in my ending was like a one shot.
Yeah.
But then I would have random scrub bosses like the Shadows of Yharnam that took forever. Father Gascoigne took forever. And it's just like so
Yeah.
weird. And it makes no sense. But it eventually worked out.
I would love to see if they ever do formally release Bloodborne Remastered, and if you try it again, I want to see if like you still struggle that hard with Father Gascoigne.
I hope not. I would hope that at this point I'm better and I actually learn things.
I hope
But-
it takes longer. I hope none of it stuck.
I mean, I see, but to my point, I legitimately was like, when I could tell I was getting near the end of Bloodborne, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so close. I want to just finish this game so I can move on to something else and do it. But I finished it and it was immediately like, I mean, I could play New Game Plus. Just like go for because I figured out there were different endings and different stuff like
Yeah.
this that I could shoot for. And I'm like, well, shit. Maybe I'm not done with Bloodborne, so who knows? I'll give it. And then, of course, everybody was like, play the DLC. It's the best part, but also the hardest part. I'm like, do I want to submit myself to that? I don't know. But I'm way more open to it than I was before, so who knows?
Yeah, really branching out. Good for you.
Trying. But what was one of your, then, top games or something like that? Or if you had some other thoughts? that
No,
you
so
wanted to
actually, like, in terms of the number of games that I played that, like, left lasting impressions, like I said, a lot of it was sort of in one ear, out the other. But if I had to, like, have a top three, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word, my number 3 is one of those in one ear and out the other games. Like, when I exorcised the demon, it was gone from my body. But I really enjoyed and would like to sort of evangelize for Coral Island.
Oh, okay.
I played a lot of Coral Island over the summer. I just needed one of those chill, cozy farming/life sim games. I had heard a little bit, like I had barely heard anything about Coral Island, and really kind of the only reason I even played it is because on PlayStation, I think it was on sale, and I was in one of those impulsive purchasing moods.
Aren't those fun?
So I was like, sure, Coral Island, one click, one buy, let's do this. And I wound up loving it.
And that was a 2024
That was
game,
this is a
right?
2024 game. Now, big caveat, it is one of those Kickstarter games, and it is still, I believe, technically in early access. So parts of the game are not done. I experienced that myself when I was playing through it. It had a lot of bugs while I was playing it. Like certain times where it would just crash out and I would just have to completely exit and come back. But the bugs didn't stop me. And I feel like that's always a good sign, because if lag and if bugs aren't enough to prevent you from playing a game for the hours and hours and hours that I
Yeah.
did, I feel like that's a good sign that the game clearly has something really special about it. And I feel like it's really easy to just sort of call Coral Island a Stardew Valley 2.0, but that's really not true. It definitely shares a lot of similar story beats with the Stardew Valleys of the world, but it very much has its own identity, and it's very based in Southeast Asia Pacific culture. So
Okay.
it's got a totally different cultural identity than most games of its kind. It's also really good looking. It's not the pixel art. So like if you're familiar
okay.
with the pixelated art games like Stardew Valley, it's not like that. It's a little bit of a glow up beyond that. All of the romanceable characters are really hot. so if you're into that, they're all beautiful. There's mermaids.
Oh, hell
That's
yeah.
a big plus. There's a whole underwater life, and it's really very much like not subtle about it at all, which I love. It's very much about like environmentally conscious conservation and that kind of stuff, and I think that that's really great. I think more games should be talking about that. So Coral Island is a beautiful game. It's not finished. It does have its problems, but keep your eyes peeled, because when Coral Island does eventually get its full release and it's finally finished, it will be worth playing.
Yeah.
And I feel like once it does get its final coat of paint, if you will, I'm going to want to go back and give it another try.
Cool,
Because I
cool.
want to finish out my farm. I sort of just like got to the point where I burned myself out on it, to be perfectly honest. I burned out on Coral Island, but it's a really good game, and I think that a lot of people would potentially love it. I got quite a few other people in the Discord to play it, and I think that they had similar experiences of being like, I have burned out. Oops. So it's one of those games that like really gets its hooks into you,
Yeah.
and then like you just eventually get to that point where you're like, I can't anymore.
Gotta try something
I have
new.
to leave.
Let's see. And I will say too, as we're talking about our like games of the year and all that stuff, one of the things that we do and we talk about on this show, since we are #gamers with a budget, we don't necessarily talk about and include in our games of the year. They're not all 2024 releases.
Yeah.
That's why I
Oh,
asked.
no, no,
that's
no.
why I asked Mogan if it was Coral Island was a 2024 or not, because I wasn't sure.
You know, I think technically its early access may have started in very late 2023, but I think for most people it
Yeah,
was
it was
an air
2024.
quotes 2024 game.
One of the games for me though that didn't quite. It was an honorable mention. I wouldn't say it quite broke the top 3, even though it was and is still one of my favorite games of all time. The Dark Forces remaster of the old like 1995, I believe was the original
yeah.
release date of this game, and they did a remaster, a full remastered version of it. And I played through that earlier this year, also on stream, and that was just a hell of a good time. Like, it's one of those things, they didn't overdo it, they didn't remake it into a new thing, you know, make it change the story to fit into Star Wars canon. It just really was just like a time capsule. Here you go. Here's this memory, this nostalgia, which for me, that game was one of the like core memories of my early gaming life. I actually have the CD in a shadow box like displayed here on my wall and
It
everything
looks
like
beautiful.
that. Next to my other seminal games of childhood, Civilization 3 and Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. But, you know, it's still...
It makes my blood boil to see Call of Duty in there.
But still, getting to go back and re-experience that game with modern controls. And that's like the only change the game needed. All the music sounds the same, like the voice lines sound the same. The textures got cleaned up, but they're not like to today's modern graphic standards and everything. It still looks like the old game. And just getting to revisit that was a purely and just great time.
Very nice, beautiful.
But should we start on our top games, or is there anything else?
I mean,
other,
I've
like, overall
only got
thoughts?
2 others that I
Okay.
really want to talk about because in my mind they're kind of both game of the year.
Oh, okay.
But like I don't want to say that one of them is my game of the year for mostly political reasons.
Sure. Okay, well then I will go ahead and it's just say, since you've already kind of talked about Coral Island,
Moral Island,
Moral
the
Island.
religious companion.
It's the Cult of the Land and Coral Island
You know,
crossover.
not enough life sim games are leaning into conservative Christian
Look,
values.
we've got the Mormon Wives TV show. Let's just get the Mormon Wives
Secret Life-
game.
Yeah, where's my Mormon Wives game?
Big love, the
Oh
game.
my god. The funniest part about it would be that there would be so many romance options because they're all swingers.
And they're all okay.
Oh my god.
All right. But so my number 3 game of the year, again, it's not from this year. It came out at the end of 2023. I played the majority of it in 2024, but it is Mortal Kombat 1.
Nice.
Again, I talked about that with the fighters. It's one that I've seen from a distance for forever and been like, I wish I liked that game more. I wish I was better at it. Same with the Soulsborne games and fighters in general. I dabbled and got crushed, and that immediately killed my like joy for it. I couldn't figure it out, and now I was just like, this doesn't work. But actually
does not
taking the
spark
time,
joy.
this does not create joy. So taking the time this year to actually learn it, learn the combos, learn the characters. We're still learning. It's baby steps, but getting
You're
to
a
actually
Baraka main, I believe?
Baraka main, yes, I did get him all the way up to leveled out his mastery level and everything, and I feel like I'm good with him. And just like in Tekken 8, I chose a character who you don't run into often, so I feel like probably also works out for my benefit. Other
'Cause
people
people
just
aren't expecting
don't
it.
know him as well.
The Zafinas of the world for you Tekken players.
But so it really is just like I enjoyed getting to like kind of be and understand that universe more. I just liked it all. The music was great. I talked about that in our last soundtrack episode. Again, Will Roger II with a fantastic score. And yeah, it was just really fun. Put in a shitload of hours into it, and I'm still going to put in way more in the next year.
I was really pleased to see that you continued to go back to Mortal Kombat 1 like in tandem and after Tekken.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, if you're really trying to dedicate time to a game to really learn it, it can be really easy to leave other good games behind.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, like they both got some love, and I was really pleased to see
it kind of like was just always like a pendulum. It would like swing heavier to Tekken one time, and I'd like get into a real like I'm currently in a very big Tekken phase right now. Thank you. And I've been like really hitting it hard, trying to get out of the damn yellows. I'm just trying to get to orange for the love of God.
In that case, I need to rejoin you.
Yeah, we're still like neck and neck. Even though I put in all this time, we're still like neck and neck in ranking.
I got to get back in.
And so like, yeah, so it's swing to Tekken, and I would like really try to like up that, get some good progress. And then if I just started hitting a wall with it, I would swing back to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Have that like 2-3 hours of like, oh shit, I got to reacclimate myself to the controls, and then like run a string there for a while until the same thing. It swung back to kind of feeling more like doing Tekken. And yeah, it was really fun playing both of those games and everything like that. And for one, seeing their differences and everything. But yeah, Mortal Kombat.
They are very different games.
They're very different games.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to have that. And it's also been like, I feel like, I know other people in our Discord and community dabble in Mortal Kombat as well, but it feels fun being like the Mortal Kombat guy.
You're our representative in the Mortal Kombat community.
Exactly. So Mortal Kombat 1, it had hit my list. If I was only counting games that came out this year, I would probably say that it would be, at this point, it probably would have been the Dark Forces remaster would be my number 3. But anyway. So what's one of your other ones?
So my honorary win for Game of the Year, because I can't technically call it my Game of the Year because it came out almost 10 years ago. But I like, so I talked a lot about games going in one ear and out the other, mostly to draw the contrast between that and the games that really stuck, because like Dredge really stuck. Like I think about Dredge and I'm like, oh my God, I loved that game. Even though it was comparatively much shorter, I didn't put nearly as many hours into it. And it's just a small indie game, air quotes, just a small indie game. The other one that I didn't this was my number 3 in terms of hours, right behind Dragon Age Inquisition, which I was pissed about because it left, like Dragon Age left no lasting imprint on my heart.
Really?
Dishonored 2.
Oh, yeah.
Dishonored 2 left a massive imprint on my soul. It's like much like the first Dishonored game, because Dishonored like was just a random off-the-cuff purchase when I first got my PlayStation 4 because I just needed a game. Like I was at the GameStop getting my PS4. I needed any game to go with it. I picked Dishonored because the definitive edition was only $15.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, great, I don't know what this is, but I'll take it. Played it, loved it. I think about Dishonored all the time.
Yeah.
And now I think about Dishonored 2 all the time because that game is phenomenal. I'm not going to harp on it too much because I just did a somewhat recent full review of the game. It is my second ever platinum.
Oh, you got 2 this year?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you got both.
Remember? Yeah, I got both
forgot
of them.
you got both. That's crazy.
I platinumed Dishonored 2,
oh my
which
God.
means I technically beat the game. I did beat the
that's
game.
right.
I beat the game 3 times.
That's right.
Because
I
you
forgot
have to
you had to
beat
do it that way.
It's a 2-character game. So first you beat it with Emily Caldwin. Well, there's no order to it. You can do it however you want. I first beat the game with Emily Caldwin. Then I beat it again with Corvo Attano. Then I beat it again with Corvo Attano, but with the no powers mode. Oh my God, it is such...
That's dedication.
It's both dedication, and I talked about this during my review, but it was such a stark reminder of how good offline single-player games can be.
Yep.
Because Dishonored knew exactly what it was. It had a very strong identity to it. It knew exactly who it was for, and it didn't try to do anything that it wasn't already about. It was like, nope, this is a stealth action game. This is all we're going to do. There's no battle pass. There were a couple of little DLC packs that came out around the edges for it, which is perfectly fine. Dishonored 1 did that as well. And honestly, more Dishonored is good Dishonored because I'll take anything. Anything you want to give me Dishonored, I'll take all of it because it's so well done. I mean, truly just one of the most fun gaming experiences I've had in a long time. And just like playing it filled me with joy, even if I was failing at a mission super, super bad. I really can't talk about Dishonored enough. And this was one of those games that I started many, many years ago. And then just for some reason like with Bloodborne, like what you talked about, for some reason at the time, it just didn't stick. But going back and trying it again, oh my God, it really stuck. And it was so good.
It's weird how that happens.
Yeah,
'Cause,
just
like,
sometimes it's not the right time.
I feel like that's going to happen with me because like I was looking at my list of games and stuff that I completed this year, and I was kind of like, oh shit, I didn't really play a lot of stuff that came out this year. I realized I did play a lot of stuff that came out this year, but it was more like live service stuff. So it was like Helldivers, X Defiant, which was now announced is going to be shutting down. RIP.
Valorant.
Valorant, stuff like that, because we're talking about the PS5 release and everything for that. So I tried a lot of those games, but of the main campaign games, I look back at our year, our most anticipated games for the year that we did at the beginning of this year, and I talked about Hellblade 2, wanted to play that one. I just didn't ever get to it. I think even though I could play it on my PC, not having it to either be PC or Xbox just kind of, and I was same with you, very PlayStation heavy this year. I just don't think I just didn't make the time for it.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, we just didn't make the time for
a lot of stuff. Yeah. And so I wanted to play that one. I still want to play that one. But then the other game that was on my list, which I did the same thing, and I started it this year, but it was right before Outlaws came out. And unfortunately, when I got to actually play it, was Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden.
Which is still on my list. Like, I'm right there with you.
And
I got to play that game.
It's the same thing where it's like, I know this game is up my alley because of the little bit I've played so far. It feels very much like the mix of God of War and Vampire. And that feels awesome so far. And the story and the setting is great as well. But it's just one of the things, like, I was playing it, I'm like, I know I like this, but now is not the time. And so I put that one to the back burner and I just haven't got back to it yet. So I want to be able to finish that one up because, like I said, it's great. And the stuff I've enjoyed about it so far has been a lot of fun. So I want to be able to go back to it. But it's just funny how that happens. How like the game you can be excited for, like Banishers, it just doesn't happen.
Sometimes it's just not the time. Yeah.
But that worked out okay because it did allow for my number 2 game of the year, which fits in a similar vein. And I've already talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But it is Bloodborne. Like.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Outlaws or not.
Outlaws was really, really fun, and that's what I talked about in our recent review about that. Although I did go back since they did the new title update and they changed a lot of stuff. They did fix the gun pickup issue, which that I talked about. You can carry a gun with you until it runs out of ammo, then you drop it.
That's great.
But you can slap it on your back and and have it mounted. You can carry it with you on a speeder. You can carry it with you up a cliff. That little change. In just a little bit that I've gone back now for as I'm doing like the final collections and platinuming, trying to work for the platinum, that made a lot of things better.
Nice.
But I still think, again, it's the year of new. That is what I'm saying. And it's like Star Wars Outlaws is fantastic. I did have a fun time with it. Not as strong as I would have hoped it to have been, but it still was a fun time and I enjoyed playing it. But in terms of just like a knockout experience, I do have to go with Bloodborne.
Not good choice.
Because it was difficult. It destroyed my soul, destroyed my body even too, with how difficult it was
Your
at times.
flat butt.
The butt is so flat. And so, I just think that for how hooked into it I did get, there was a time when I was fighting Father Gascoigne, and I know he's like the second boss of the game, but I was kind of like, I don't know, fam. I don't know if this is going to work for me. It was rough. And especially too, like on stream, trying to not be like, fuck you, just like constantly.
Jared.
It was an experience playing through Bloodborne, and I think that was just too special of a thing. It was fun to also stream it and get to play it all the way through like that. But Bloodborne was a fantastic game from start to finish, and it made me want more. And so I had to give it my number 2.
Nice, good choice.
But now because we've talked about our number 2s. I feel like it's time for our number 1.
We have the same number 1.
And I feel like we have the same number 1.
We have the same number 1.
Should we just say it? Let's just on a 3, 2, 1 count. 3, 2, 1, Tekken 8.
Of course.
What if we said different things?
Oh my god, that would have been so embarrassing.
That would be like, oh shit. No.
If I came out and I was like, Mortal Kombat 1. Jared, I'm surprised. I've been playing it. No, it has to be Tekken 8. And it's so funny because in terms of hours, I mean, this was air quotes only number 5 on my total list of hours for PlayStation, which I didn't realize I had put that few into Tekken 8 because similar to Dishonored, it leaves an impression. It leaves impact. It is so fun. It is so absorbing. And it was just everything I think I could have asked for in a new Tekken. Because in terms of like old Tekken games, I know that for you, this is like your first proper Tekken game.
First one.
But
we played. I think we did a Team Chat Plays with Tekken 7, like right before 8 came out.
But Tekken 8 took the games in both new and interesting territory in a big way. I mean, you talk about the fighting game scene, like the formal competitive fighting game community.
Yep.
A lot of old school Tekken players that have been in the competitive scene for years and years and years came out after Tekken 8 came out, and they really got to play it for a long time, and they were like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really good thing, actually, because it shows that the game changed in meaningful ways. And the ways that Tekken 8 really changed are primarily with the rage system.
Yes.
So the introduction of Rage Drive and Rage Art, and actually for those of you, I feel like this doesn't really affect us because we're real players, but for other players that aren't that into fighting games, they did actually make Tekken 8 more accessible in the form of special style.
No, wait, which is new? Is it the Rage Art or the Heat that's new?
Heat, excuse me, I meant Heat.
Okay, because I thought I remember that from 7, of there being the Rage.
No, I just, in my brain, I get them confused all the time. The Heat system. Yes, so Rages already existed in Tekken 7, but they, made those even more impactful with the addition of the Heat Drive system. So you can activate Heat, and then you've also got your Rage Art and your Rage Drives, and they work hand in hand together to create wild combos and possible gameplays, and a lot of mix-ups, really good ways to counter or defend certain things while also predominantly speeding up the flow of Tekken. It's really not incentivized to be super defensive in Tekken 8, and in the old Tekken games, you could make the argument that being more defensive was perhaps the better way to go.
That's why I'm losing. I'm too defensive.
But Tekken 8 was like, fuck that. We're going all in, balls to the wall, punches and kicks, only no blocks. Those are for babies. Now, that's not true. You do need to block. You need to block a lot for strategic things. Jared and I are just not good
great at it. We'd be doing our community night play games of Tekken, which we need to do another one soon, everyone. We need to get one on the calendar. And everyone in the chat would just be like, I'd be like, how do I do this? How do I get better? And they'd be like, just block, bro. And I'm like, how?
I know.
I trip on a pebble and fucking Dragunov is throwing me into the stratosphere.
But it's so fun. They came out with a really solid roster of characters, some new, most old. My number one waifu for Laifu, Lili, is better than ever, which I feel like is awesome. And then, of course, it was the year of Lars for me. Live, laugh, Lars, everybody. The Larsening, that was such a fun Tekken. That was. And this also plays into the other reason that I think for both of us, it's our game of the year, is that it was such a good community game for Team Chat.
Yeah, so many people in our Discord and community have also shared the love of Tekken with us, Tekken 8 this year, and we've had a lot of great community game nights and different stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun to get to experiment with and play.
Shout out to Bromogan, Snoots My Boots, Super Saiyan Ace, Brandon. Yeah, everybody that's been in there being cool and awesome with us.
Hell yeah. My name was Shaheen, which I think again benefits me like Baraka in Mortal Kombat, and then that no one plays them. I actually was playing some ranked the other day. Got beat by who were they? They might have been Arena actually. And
Reina.
We went, all 3 rounds. It was a good back and forth. They were substantially better, but I felt like I kind of held my own a little bit. And after we finished, the person messaged me and was just like, Shaheen, if you learn Shaheen, nobody else knows him, so that's good. Use that, but also learn basics. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Man, burn. On the one hand, burn. On the other hand, that was nice of them.
It was very nice.
Reach
and I said, and I responded and said, hey, thanks. You were great, obviously. I'm still quasi new to this.
Yeah.
And so like, well, you're learning quickly. And I was like, okay, well, that makes me feel a little better. But it was funny that they were just like, but learn the basics. Get that stuff down. Learn to block a little bit. Maybe sidestep. Maybe think about sidestep.
Yes, those are all things that I am also super bad about. I barely sidestep. I really barely block. And once I get hooked on a specific combo or set of setups, it's hard for me to break out of that cycle. So I just need to get back into it and really buckle down and learn how to do real combos, which is also something I'm not great at. I can get the first third of a combo going.
Same.
And then I just can't get the second 2 parts of it.
I don't know if I'm doing actual combos or just stringing together. It's kind of like my Bloodborne playstyle. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but it has positive results. And I sometimes am able to string together a pretty good set of moves. I don't know if they're official combos. I try to learn the official combos. Like I know there's this one Shaheen move I really need to learn, but I sat there for so long trying to get the combo down, couldn't get it. But you know, I every once in a while learn a new one, figure it out how to incorporate it in, and I see the results and I see like, oh snap. I can actually like get a few wins, get my rank up a little bit. I was playing last night actually, and I was like so motivated because I said this one new opponent came up and I was like, I'm gonna kick his ass. I want to be the one to end this because it was a Jack 8 with a 30 win streak.
Oh shit!
And I was like,
wow, 30
let's
wins.
crack these knuckles. Let's go. He kicked my ass. He like pounded me into the dirt. It was bad.
As
but I
Jack
was
8
like
do.
ready to go. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it was like having that like, oh shit, I've never met this person before. I do not know them from Adam.
But we have
beef right now, and I want to be the one to end his streak. And that is just
That
such a
rules.
fun dynamic
Yeah.
that I think Tekken creates. And so again, it's been fun like getting swept into this. Like it's not just you and 30 other people in a lobby like, you know, like in Apex or Call of Duty and stuff like that, duking it out. It's more personal.
It's
more
mano a mano.
It is, and it's fisticuffs, and it's just, you know, a good ass time.
It's proper honorable combat, the way that it used to be.
And you know, and Tekken's a wild game. It's a wild
crazy.
fucking universe. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you what the story is. I
No,
couldn't tell
you
you
don't
what
need to
happened.
know.
All I know is just like all these ridiculous characters with ridiculous soundtracks come out and throw. You fight a bear who uses
many
a
bears.
fish
Yeah.
as a golf club to smack you into the next universe.
Yep.
And it's just why? What is this?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's fun, and
And-
I've spent over 100 hours in it this year.
And you briefly touched on it, but can we just say I wasn't surprised, but I was still a little bit like disappointed that the Tekken 8 soundtrack
Yes.
didn't get a nom for best OST because, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I feel like it's just not that kind of game.
I don't know though. I mean, Metaphor Ray Fantasio's up there, and they probably have some crossover, maybe.
Anyways, my point being the Tekken 8 soundtrack is phenomenal. All Tekken soundtracks are always phenomenal, but the fact that the Tekken 8 soundtrack on its own is so good, and they also brought back again the jukebox,
Yep.
which allows you to customize all of your own playlists using the entire Tekken soundtrack going back through the ages, like all the way back to Tekken 1. All
Yep.
of the random side games, they're all in there. I feel like they just really like went balls to the wall with what they put in the game
Yep.
for the fans, for the Tekken
Oh, yeah.
fans. Like that's who they made the game for, and you can really tell that the love was there.
Yep. And for a newcomer, even like to the series, it's not daunting to get into. I mean, it is. There's a lot to learn and a lot to like figure out. But it's not like you have this like, oh well, you don't understand unless you've played all the Tekkens, you're not going to get this. I mean, I still when I run across people like Bromogan who have played all the Tekkens, you're just like, Jesus Christ,
It's just that you just don't stand a
you
chance.
just don't stand a chance. But it's still like, yeah. Just every bit of it. And like I said earlier, it makes me so mad sometimes. I will get heated like doing ranked because it's just like either a frustration at myself for still not getting like certain moves down or anything like that, or just like being beat by someone so bad. I'm like, I have no idea how to even think about countering what you're doing, you know? And so it's just, but still like that remaining a challenge of something I want to go and like get better at to beat.
And speaking about like again accessibility, I mentioned special style, but that was really like the worst point to mention like why it's more accessible to get into Tekken, because Tekken 8 has a phenomenal practice mode.
Yep.
And in addition to the phenomenal practice mode, which helps you learn basic combos, it helps you learn all of your different characters' movesets, it helps you learn to counter specific things. They also have ghost mode. So like basically like
Oh, I forgot about
replays
that.
where you can go in and replay matches where you lost, and you can understand, like the game helps you understand, okay, this is what you were really bad about
I
countering.
legitimately completely forgot about
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
probably need to go back and actually use that.
Yes, so being a little bit more invested in both ghost mode and getting into the practice mode, those are the areas that can help brand new players actually feel like you can get Tekken 8. It is a challenging game. I'm not going to lie to you about that.
Oh,
it's a little
it's
bit
hard.
difficult.
It's difficult.
But it is so rewarding, and like when you get a combo down and when you're winning those matches, it feels amazing.
It's the same thing as
Yeah.
same thing as Bloodborne. You beat that milestone. You feel the tide turn. You're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is good. And I'm gonna chase this feeling. Like one time, I remember I got like in ranked a like 12 string of matches wins, and I was like, "What is happening?"
I'm a
right now?
god.
It felt like that, and I was posting it in the Discord, like, "What's happening? It's still going on." It's like I don't know why. Why am I beating everybody who comes up against? Lately, too, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. Just about every match, even if win, lose, or whatever, it's gotten consistent enough that I feel good if I can land at least one round per match that's a perfect.
Ooh,
and it's been happening, not every time, but it's getting more consistent. And that makes me feel pretty damn good.
You should feel good about that.
I actually had a plugger last night because I saved the clip and everything, so I need to post it in the Discord. But yeah, I legitimately was like, it was even against the Steve. He was like 100.
Steve sucks.
He was like 100,000 Tekken points, and I'm sitting at like 72,000. And
just 72.
I'm very scrub.
Easy.
100 hours, only 72. But yeah, and so we played in the first match. Yeah, he owned me, and then the second one I came back and was able to get a perfect, and then started kicking his ass, and just he plugged out, and I was like,
what a coward!
It felt good. It felt good.
Yeah, it felt great.
So yeah, it's just like I've already spent this much time in Tekken. I'm not going to stop. There's like 2025 is still going to be the year of Tekken 8.
And we are still like only in season 1.
Yeah.
Of Tekken DLC.
Yep.
So like for those of you thinking like, oh, it's probably too late for me to get into the Tekken 8 scene. It is not. The game is going to be going for a while. There's Clive.
Yeah, new character literally
Clive
about to
is
come
coming.
out.
And of course they brought back Heihachi.
Hell yeah.
He's dead.
Which, like I said,
Tekken.
was what I'm excited about, because as a kid growing up seeing like Tekken in the arcades and not playing it and everything, I always knew Heihachi, and so now getting to finally play Heihachi is really cool.
It's always so fun and exciting though to like see who they're going to bring back, because so far, in addition to the main roster, the DLC characters have been Eddie, longtime staple of the
Fucking
series.
sucks.
Eddie sucks. Lydia, the president of Poland or the prime minister or whatever. Heihachi, and now Clive.
Yep.
So those are just the 4 for this first season. Who knows?
How many are we getting? 4 seasons?
I think it's 4 characters per season.
4 characters per
So if I'm
season.
not mistaken, Clive will be the last one, and then season 2 will start, I presume, sometime in early next year.
But like, are we getting 4 characters per season, or is it only going to be like, will it be a slower drip from now out,
I
do you think?
don't know. I think in the past it's been a pretty consistent cadence, but I can't say that for sure. And towards the end of Tekken 7, I think Bro Mogan maybe made a comment about this in the Discord. Tekken 7's like air quotes end game got kind of sporadic because it seems like they maybe didn't think the game was going to go that long. So
shit.
it's like, we gotta keep making
Go to the
characters.
drawing board here.
So there's been a little bit of controversy around Tekken's battle pass system and around the fact that one of the new levels, like one of the new stages, was paywalled. Like they got a lot of backlash for that, but I believe because of the backlash they got for that, they changed that.
Yeah.
So the battle pass system in Tekken, I'm never gonna really love a battle pass, but it's definitely one of the least bad ones.
Yeah,
like,
I haven't
the battle
touched it, and
passes
it's
out
not like
there.
they like throw it in your face a lot
No.
to like buy, but get coins, do whatever. It's it's there if you want it, but
You
if you don't
can
need it,
totally ignore it
which
and still
I
have a great
and
time.
it's a great time,
Yeah.
and I'm still making some pretty fun customizable characters. Remember Abraham Lars, Lars,
Larzaham Lincoln.
Larzaham Lincoln.
Love Larzaham Lincoln. So the character customization is phenomenal. The soundtracks are amazing. All the stages are super fun and different, with breakable walls, breakable floors, all different kinds of stuff for you to enjoy. And the roster of characters is massive.
Yep.
I mean, compared to like Valorant, which only has like 18 some odd characters, it's not a lot. It's like, oh my god, there's so many more characters in this game. I just hope that they never bring back Gigas.
They're going to now.
They
You
brought
spoke
God,
it
I
into
hope
existence.
not. The characters that I hope they don't bring back are Gigas and Lucky Chloe. Those are the two that I'm like, we can all live without them.
I don't even know who those are, so I'll
Good,
have to,
you don't
I'll
need
have
to know.
live and learn.
Because they brought back June Kazama from the original. I mean, June hasn't been in a game since like Tekken 2, I think.
Oh, really?
Well, formally. She
Okay.
was technically
as a playable character?
She was sort of a playable character in Tekken. No, was she just a boss? She was like a side character in Tekken 7, but like back formally as a day one playable character, they brought back Jun Kazama, which gives me hope that maybe they'll bring back Michelle Chang instead of her daughter, Julia Chang. I have nothing against Julia except for the fact that she's not Michelle. I don't want Julia. I want Michelle back. She's my original OG, and if they bring back Michelle, my life will be complete.
Maybe so. Maybe one day they will.
Maybe someday.
One day we can hope.
But that's Tekken 8. That's game of the
Tekken 8.
year.
That's game of the year for us.
no
Team
regrets.
Chat. It's actually a 2025 game too.
We actually
That's
played
fantastic.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we did
said
it.
you said the wrong year. It's 2024.
2024 game. Yeah, we did it.
Congratulations,
Congratulations
gamers. We
to
did
us.
it.
We did it. We didn't name some like 2013 games game of the year.
And it almost was with Dishonored 2. If Tekken 8
And
hadn't
Dragon
come
Age,
out.
if it had been better, Dragon Age Inquisition could have hit up there too. Who'd never know?
Man. But
Well,
if Tekken 8
yeah.
genuinely, if it hadn't been Tekken 8, it was going to be Dishonored 2.
it would have been probably would have been Bloodborne for me.
Yeah.
So,
Oh boy.
because I mean, if it hadn't been that, if we were count only 2025 releases and it wasn't Tekken 8, it probably would have been Outlaws. But yeah, there's too much other good stuff.
So briefly segueing into games that I still from 2024 that I still genuinely want to, and like I'm committing to revisiting and perhaps at least beating. Astrobot.
Oh yeah, same.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which I already have. Neva, which I already have. I think
See,
I'm about.
you've got a backlog. You
Yeah,
gotta
I've
get
got
into
it. I think I'm halfway through Neva, and it's a really short game, so
Yeah.
I have no excuse. I just need to go finish Neva, and then actually finishing Brothership, which I make a little bit of progress every week on that. It's not like a sit down and play for 8 hours game.
Yeah.
But I'm making my way downtown, walking fast on my ship, and we're sailing the seas. Da-da-da-da-da. So yeah,
Very
there's
nice.
and Banishers.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Banishers, Astrobot, Neva, Lorelei, and the Laser Eyes. Those are the games from 2024 that I haven't played but desperately want to.
For me, I'm gonna say Hellblade. I want to finish Banishers and Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard.
Oh my god, I have Veilguard. Jesus.
my God.
Ah!
I want to get that one too
backlog.
because even though like Inquisition, by the time we finally wrapped it up, we talked about it in our review. Like shows its age a little bit, shows some rough edges. It still like got me super hyped for Veilguard, and I'm wanting to take that on pretty soon. So hopefully I'll be able to get to that one. But yeah, those are the ones that I still want to circle back to and be able to have a shot with, and Astrobot too, because it looks like just a damn delight. But 2024 was wild. Had a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of punches were thrown, kicks, fisticuffs were had.
Yeah.
That's basically what the Team Chat is all about. It's Tekken Chat podcast
Yep,
now.
Tekken Chat podcast.
And so official
should have
rename.
rebranded.
We should
Yeah,
have.
God
Just
damn.
should have done it. God damn it. We'll see. But that pretty much wraps up too, I think, our year in review for 2024. But we would be remiss if we did not end the year with giving another huge thank you to each and every person who comes in every episode and watches, listens, supports us on Patreon, likes our stuff on TikTok because, hey, we got that big video there. Go check it out. But
Comments
still,
on the YouTube videos, likes the YouTube
Exactly.
videos. We love that.
If it wasn't for all of you here in our community of Team Chat, we would just be two people talking to empty mics. But we know,
And
knowing
we'd
that
still do it.
it might be less
Maybe.
fun, but still, knowing that all of y'all are there and engaging with us and just supporting us as we do this each and every week, it means a lot. And we don't ever want to take that for granted. And we just want to be sure that we thank you all for that because it really does mean the world to us.
And we also want to hear from you. We want to
Yes.
hear about your personal games of the year. And they don't have, obviously, you've seen, they don't have to be from this year.
Right.
So get in the Discord, get in the YouTube comments, tell us what your personal games of the year were. We really want to hear it.
Yes, we do. But with that,
Unless it's
everybody-
Call of Duty 6. If that's the case, I don't want to hear from you.
we will just never give it the
Get
time
out.
of day. But with that, everybody, I think that wraps up our 2024 in review. And with that, this year's episodes of Team Chat Podcast.
Thanks
We're going
for
to take
another
a break.
great year.
Yeah, thank you again for another great year. We're going to be taking a break now for the rest of the year for the holidays and to rest, recharge. But don't you worry, we'll be back in the new year to continue giving you the great video game news and insights that you crave. But with that, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next year. Bye.
Bye.